Johnny Somali, a name that, for many in South Korea, now symbolizes audacity, disrespect, and outright defiance. An American YouTuber, he's triggered a wave of backlash in South Korea. His actions, caught on camera, have united citizens and authorities against him in a way that few outsiders have. What led to this international uproar? Why does his story resonate so strongly in South Korea and worldwide? Let's start at the beginning. Johnny Somali, whose real name is Ramzi Khalid Ismail, isn't new to controversy. His story of disruptive antics goes back to before he even set foot in South Korea. First, he made headlines in Japan, where he taunted the subway commuters about Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the two cities devastated by U.S. nuclear bombs in 1945. His behavior was so unruly that it eventually led to a criminal case and his deportation. At the time, Johnny assured Japanese authorities that he would mend his ways. He'd change, he promised, leaving behind the public antics that had gotten him into trouble. But if anyone believed him, they would soon be proven wrong. Not even a year after his deportation, Johnny headed to South Korea, arriving on September 26, 2024. His timing was no coincidence. He arrived on his birthday, and it seemed like he had only one thing on his mind: to create an even bigger spectacle. He went live, promising that he'd reform, yet within hours he was broadcasting scenes of provocation and disruption. Johnny's return to the spotlight came as he harassed locals, disturbed public spaces, and played explicit content on his phone in front of unsuspecting passers-by, including elderly citizens. South Korea doesn't take lightly to this type of disruption, so it didn't take long for authorities to step in. The offense, obstruction of business, a significant charge with penalties that can include up to 5 years in prison, large fines, and deportation. As of now, Johnny Somali is barred from leaving South Korea, and given the country's near 90% conviction rate once a case reaches formal indictment, his legal future is looking bleak. Yet, it wasn't just public disturbances that turned South Korean sentiment against Johnny. No. The tipping point came when he directed his provocations toward one of South Korea's most sacred cultural symbols, the Statue of Peace. This monument represents the pain and suffering endured by comfort women during Japan's occupation. Comfort women is a euphemism for the Korean victims of wartime sexual slavery. They were exploited by the Japanese military during World War II. For South Koreans, it's a powerful and deeply personal reminder of historical trauma. Johnny was seen on camera kissing the statue, taunting its significance, and even simulating lewd actions, all while streaming live for his audience. His stunt was instantly met with fury. This wasn't just about a public nuisance anymore. It had become a direct insult to South Korean history and dignity. The backlash was swift. South Koreans of all ages, from students to senior citizens, voiced their outrage. Online, he was labeled as public enemy number one. Protests grew, and the incident was reported widely by the media, making Johnny Somali a household name in South Korea for all the wrong reasons. With pressure mounting, Johnny issued a public apology. He claimed he hadn't understood the significance of the statue, saying, "I didn't mean to hurt anyone's pride. You're a great people, and I hope you can forgive me." But this apology rang hollow for many. Why? Because not long after, footage surfaced showing Johnny and his followers mocking the very importance of the statue before the incident, suggesting he was fully aware of its meaning. This revelation cast a shadow over his apology, with many seeing it as nothing more than an insincere attempt to save face. People were unconvinced, and some even described the apology as a calculated move to avoid legal consequences. But Johnny's actions following this apology only solidified public skepticism as he continued his provocations both online and offline. Instead of laying low, Johnny seemed to double down on his antics. Between late September and October, his behavior escalated further. He streamed live from public places across Seoul, playing offensive music, making racial slurs, and even harassing people on the subway and in parks. But the turning point came on October 17th when he entered a convenience store, caused a disturbance, and then screamed at locals. This incident was broadcast across South Korea, fueling even more media coverage and cementing his new reputation. By this point, the public had enough. On October the 24th, while Johnny was streaming on the streets of Seoul, a bystander physically confronted him. This set off a chain reaction. Now, tracking Johnny Somali's location became a public pastime, with citizens actively searching for him to confront his behavior. Throughout late October, he was repeatedly approached, punched, and chased by frustrated locals, leading some to joke that catching Johnny had become a national sport. And though Johnny tried to outmaneuver his would-be catchers by hiding and reappearing only with police protection, the incidents kept happening. One of the most infamous moments came on Halloween, when Johnny, in an apparent show of defiance, dared people to come catch him. That taunt backfired spectacularly when a former South Korean Navy SEAL tracked him down and delivered a swift, calculated blow that left him visibly rattled. Behind the scenes, some of Johnny's former associates and South Korean influencers attempted to orchestrate an apology. Brandon Kim, a South Korean social media personality, shared that he and others convinced Johnny to issue a formal apology under the pretense of helping him legally. However, Kim later admitted that he regretted assisting Johnny, questioning whether someone with such a history of provocations even deserved the opportunity for leniency. The apology didn't resonate with the public. To make matters worse, Johnny continued posting provocative content shortly afterward, mocking his own attempts at remorse. At this point, the orchestrated apology was seen as a failure, and another reason for the public to distrust him. The more Johnny evaded the public, the more determined South Koreans became to confront him. In one memorable instance, Johnny's Korean-American friend attempted to protect him during a confrontation, but Johnny fled, leaving his friend behind. His repeated attempts to hide, avoid responsibility, and rely on others for protection only fueled the public's anger. This pattern of evasion became, for many, symbolic of what they saw as Johnny's cowardice. The repeated incidents of fleeing responsibility in the face of his own actions only solidified his negative image. Johnny Somali's case is more than just the story of a rogue internet provocateur. It's a vivid example of the real-world consequences foreign nationals can face when disrespecting cultural and legal boundaries. South Korea is known for its strong emphasis on respecting shared spaces and cultural symbols. Johnny's actions ignited debates about how such values should be protected and enforced, significantly as global digital content increasingly blurs these lines. For South Korea, this case is a test of its legal and cultural boundaries in the face of global influence and online fame. As the story unfolds, Johnny's potential for additional charges, especially related to illegal content creation, is growing. Legal experts speculate that his case could lead to stricter laws for digital influencers and public disturbances by foreigners. Johnny Somali's story is a case study of what happens when disregard for cultural respect collides with the power of the Internet. His actions in South Korea have left an indelible mark, sparking an intense public and legal response. As he awaits trial under a travel ban, his future remains uncertain, but public sentiment in South Korea is clear. Accountability must be served. This is a story with international implications that go beyond one person. We'll keep you updated on every development as this case progresses. Don't forget to subscribe to stay informed on this and other critical international stories that reveal how digital behavior impacts the world.